tell I'm really glad to be part of this wonderful event at Arival here in Berlin. Thank you to Glass for inviting me to share this story between dynamic pricing and Moulin Rouge. Well, let's get straight into it. It all started in 2012. At that time, our observations were the following. We had a very high seat occupancy. The Moulin Rouge is open 365 days a year, and we have 2 shows per night, almost each day. And our seat occupancy at that time on our first show was around 98% for a capacity of 900 seats. Groups were declining a bit, but we were getting more and more individuals. Knowing that, we were having that discussion with my CEO, Olivier Villalon, on that specific topic that is concerning every CEO. What are our growth levers? I mean, we were doing real good, but we could not push the walls to make a better profit, right? So, as the discussion progressed, we started talking about revenue per seat and how to optimize this revenue per seat. Revenue per seat made us think about what hotels were doing with their revenue per room. As you may know, revenue per room is a very important key performance metric in the hotel industry, also called RevPAR. So what were hotels doing to optimize this revenue per room? Well, guess what? They were doing yield management and dynamic pricing. At that time, we were having the same price every day of the year, and it was not usual to do yield management or dynamic pricing in our specific sector. Our first question was, is this applicable to attractions? I mean, nobody's really done it before, so will it work for us? Our first concern was about the customer's purchasing power. We're not like flights or hotel. Like many activities, we're optional, and this means that we are at the end of the customer's buying process, and therefore very sensible to his purchasing power. So we knew that we had to be very careful if we want to change prices. But on the other hand, we have a strong brand. We have very little competition on that specific market, in that specific place that is Paris. Like I said earlier, we have a high seat occupancy, and above all, since we have a booking system that has been running for 10 years, we have data to analyze. So all of these were all major factors that made us think that we had the capability of having a variable price list, and therefore the capability of doing dynamic pricing. Our next concern, and not the less, was the following. Okay, we really think that we do have the capability of doing dynamic pricing. But is our IT system ready to handle prices that are going to change every day? In 2012, our IT system was built like this. We had a self-made booking and ticketing software in which we had a first price list. All the information concerning the bookings were in that system. Before the beginning of the evening, we used to edit a lot, but I mean a lot, of papers, so that our waiters at night could handle each of the bookings. And because we're also a restaurant, and actually because we're in France, and you have to know that French legislation is very complicated, we needed a cash register system in order to handle the orders made by clients at night, like bottles of champagne, diners' courses. And because this system was not connected to the booking and ticketing software, we needed a second price list in this system. In fact, we also used this system to edit the final bills for our client at night. And all those bills were used, like I said earlier, we're in France, so it's quite complicated. So we also need all those information in our accounting system. So As this was not connected to our cash register system, we also needed a third price list in this system so that our accounting department, the day after the show, will have to re-enter all the informations again in this third software. So to resume, we had 3 different price lists in 3 different softwares that were not communicating with each other. This means that every time we wanted to change a price, we had to change it in the 3 softwares. Let's say that having a variable price list with this system was just inconceivable, and the fact is that we had to change. As the Moulin Rouge should not close while doing this, we plan to do it in 3 steps. In July 2013, we first changed our cash register system, and in January 2014, we then changed our booking and ticketing software. At this time, both were communicating together, and all the information that we entered in the booking and ticketing software was received by the cash register system. A funny thing is that we even added a 1-meter wide touchscreen so that a specialized waiter could place the booking on the table. They used to do that with a pencil and a paper sitting plan, so it was quite a revolution to become a sort of Tom Cruise in that Minority Report movie, you know. Finally, in late 2014, we connected our accounting system, and at this time, all the bills were directly delivered into the accounting system. The owner of the Moulin Rouge, Jean-Jacques Cléricault, was really excited about the idea of having a variable price list. So we decided to do that variable price list a few months before getting the last connection between the accounting software and the cash register system. As this was a first experience, we did a very, very secure first price list. The prices were going from minus 20% on a few dates on our second show, up to 20% on our most requested date. We were not doing dynamic pricing yet. It was just variable price for each day of the year. But we quickly realized that our cheap rates were filling up faster than usual, and that our most expensive rates had a little slower filling pace. In fact, we observed that attractive price help us, of course, to attract new customers. But more interesting, those prices help us to move customers from dates with high seat occupancies to dates with lower seat occupancies. But to be more efficient, we knew that we needed yearly recurrent data to build and analyze different scenarios. Unfortunately, as you all know, in November 2015, Paris suffered terrorist attacks. And it was very difficult at this time to measure the impact that it would have over time and to provide a price list adapted to a scenario that we never met before. So it took almost a year before getting an influence close to what it used to be. And even if we had a little bit less customer, the use of dynamic pricing helped us to get a slightly better turnover. So where are we today? Well, we have a price list that goes from minus 25% for a few dates up to 40%. We are connected to more than 15 OTAs that are using our API to get real-time pricing. But we know that we are still in a period of experimentation, as we need many more data to be efficient. Today, we're aiming to new challenges, as we're still managing the variation of our price list manually with trigger key of our own, and on one of our best friends, that is Excel. Our short-term project, and this will end this story, is to model many different scenarios in order to automate alerts, changes, and to be more efficient on that specific dynamic pricing. Well, this is it. Thank you, everyone. I hope this will help you in getting your own dynamic pricing story. Thank you.
Sébastien, thank you. I just, before you sit down, so first of all, I just want to thank you and acknowledge you. It's very rare in my experience in the conference industry to have someone come up from a company and really lift up the kimono and share some of the dirty laundry, so to speak, as well as the vision. I'm just curious, so when I sent this request, if you would come share this, you went to your CEO and said, hey, I'm going to share our story, there's going to be some warts in this. What was the response from your boss?
Well, you know, we're like we're saying, we have a big name, but we're a small company. We're not like a huge company. And it's important for us to share this as we're kind of the first to experiment these things. So it's for us it's a pleasure to share what we went through and yeah, to share it.
Great. Well, thank you.